Part 3 of my Zoe series. So this is the last video in the video compilations that I've been doing about the Zoe program and the app. I'm going to discuss my final thoughts and conclusions. Hi everyone, if you're new here, my name is Osama. I'm a pharmacist based in England. I've got over 23 years of experience in all things pharmacy and health related. Welcome to the channel if you're new here. So let me start by saying that what the team at Zoe have done has been absolutely amazing. They've built up a huge data set of dietary markers that I think over time the science will prove that they are probably onto something significant. I want to start this video with some of the criticisms and then I'll move on to the pros of the Zoe program. So I'd say the first criticism is that it can be quite draining logging all your food all the time. I mean, I already log my food daily using MyFitnessPal. That's more of a calorie counter, but having to use the Zoe app on top of that, so logging my food twice, for me, I felt it was just too much really. Another criticism is that I don't like the fact that they do away with calories. I think calorie intake is still a massive part of our diet, to be honest. It can be quite disheartening when you're eating in the Zoe way to see how difficult it is to get a high scoring rating at the end of the day. And I think when you're eating to get a high score, I think sometimes for me it can take some of the joy out of eating. Through the app you are shamed into eating in a more healthy fashion, more so than MyFitnessPal, but I suppose that's the whole aim, to shame you into eating in a better way really. Another problem I found is that most of the high scoring foods are vegetarian based, so like your beans and things like that. And I'm not really a massive fan of like your lentils and your chickpeas and red beans and stuff like that, but they just happen to be the highest scoring foods for my biological profile. Having said that though, I do try and have 1 or 2 meat-free days a week, but I do find it difficult to incorporate into my diet because I am a meat eater and I do like my meat. I think for me, I do find the Zoe way of eating quite difficult for my own personal preference. I think the concept behind it is sound, but trying to translate that into real world diet plans I think is a lot harder. Moving on, have I seen any health benefits? Not really, I don't think, to be honest with you, but I think the whole premise of the program is to reduce dietary inflammation, and if you're going to reduce dietary inflammation, you're not going to see the results for another 10, 15, 20 years, so it'll only be then when all your sort of inflammatory markers would be lower through eating the Zoe way would you see the benefits of the program. And also I think it's quite expensive. I can't remember how much it is to join. Is it about 230, 250 pounds or whatever, which is I think is fair enough, to be honest with you, to get you going and stuff like that. But then to continue after that, it's £35 a month, which in these inflationary times, it's a big ask really. For me, it's just not worth £35 a month. A lot of the sort of knowledge that they have is actually common knowledge. A lot of the sort of poorly ranked foods and highly ranked foods are quite well known. You know, we all know bacon and sausages aren't that great for you, but then again, we know sort of fruit, vegetables, beans and stuff like that are all really healthy for you, so you don't really need an app to tell you that, and it's certainly not worth £35 a month. And really for me, I've actually ended up putting a bit of weight on through the program because I think I sort of disregarded the calorie aspect of it and I was eating more for gut health than overall calories, and I think that sort of has maybe put on a little bit of weight, which I wasn't too pleased about. Anyway, enough of the negative stuff now, shall we move on to the pros? I think for me, it's just amazing to be able to see exactly what foods are good for me, what foods are bad, beyond just the traditional fat, carbs, protein matrix. Do I think calorie counting still has a place? 100%. I'm still a big fan of Ted Naiman and his protein leverage phenomenon and his PE diet. I'll put the links in the description. The good thing about Ted Naiman is that he's a former chemical engineer turned doctor, and sometimes some of the best ideas are got from individuals that are outside the traditional sphere that we are involved in. I think another pro of Zoe is that the diet advice that they give you is generally speaking quite good. For example, from the science of combining high scoring foods and low scoring foods to the science of food sequencing So you can sort of eat, like, for example, your vegetables and your protein and your carbs in that order so as to minimize the glucose spikes in your body. I think all that stuff is just brilliant, and it's really opened my eyes to how to actually fine-tune my diet even more than what I had done in the past 10 years. Another part of the app is the log of your energy levels and your stool quality and your Zoe score. I think it is quite useful, although for me, I didn't personally really pay much attention to it. I just went on how I felt day to day. So in conclusion, I think what I would say is that I've taken the parts from the Zoe program that I feel I could incorporate myself into my own diet. I've made some subtle changes to my diet. I've also swapped out certain foods for others as per my biological scoring through the program. But can I see myself eating that way forever, continually trying to get 80 plus scores per day via Zoe? I don't know. I can't see myself doing it. I can definitely aim towards that, and I feel like I'm still eating in the Zoe way to some degree, but I don't think I'm going to go all out trying to get like 80 plus scores every day. I just don't think I can do that. So I think for me, the Zoe program is like absolutely fantastic, don't get me wrong, but realistically, can I see most people sticking to it religiously? Probably not. I think people will probably do what I do, and they're going to take bits and pieces that they feel that they can apply to their life. And I think that's a bonus, you know, even if you can just fine-tune parts of your diet, that's better than nothing, and it'll all add up in the long run to greater health outcomes. Just try and incorporate as much of the diet hacks that have been suggested by Zoe into your own life, and I'm sure you'll feel better for it. For me, there has to be a balance, you know, life is short, we do have to enjoy it, you know, and I don't think sort of eating in a way that makes you miserable is just going to be sustainable or enjoyable, really. You need some naughty stuff in your life, but if you try and eat healthy most of the time, then I think you can't go wrong, really. And also, I'm a big fan of the first law of thermodynamics. Energy can't be created or destroyed, and I don't think you can get away from that fundamental tenet, and that's the thing that I stick to. For me, I still think calorie counting is king. If you can afford it, go for it. Try the Zoe program. It's going to fine-tune your life. It's going to fine-tune your diet. But for the rest of us, you don't really need it. I think a lot of the information is widely available. You can go to the Zoe podcast. They give a lot of fantastic information for free. I highly recommend it. Or Glucose Goddess on Instagram. I'll put a link to that as well. Again, all free information. You don't really need to be paying £35 a month for all that. Anyway, that concludes this Zoe series of videos. I hope that you have found some value in it. You know, I mean, I certainly enjoyed sort of going through the program and learning about it all and making these videos. Thanks very much for your time, and I hope to see you in the next video. See you later. Bye.